welcome to our 70th Emuna class. Yes, a big night tonight. Right now we're actually daytime, midday, Rabbi, but soon, midnight, we'll have this class live. Emuna class 70, and I have a big thank you, Hashem, written on my hat. A nice organization in Muncie, I believe. We merit to have my father in the studio. Mr. Goldsmith is in the house. Say hello.
Hi there. Hi, everybody who's taking notice of what we have to say. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to welcome everybody and talk to you all today. And I look forward to some very embarrassing questions from my son.
Only the good ones. Only the ones that make you feel loved. We do have Rav Dayan Elgrod coming in the studio shortly, so he will take care of some of the general questions that we have for our Emuna class. Especially, we've been focusing on Benam L'Chaver, loving our fellow person. Very important to keep connection positive and real. But today, the focus is overall on promoting Emuna, and that can be, honestly, the biggest help you can do for humanity. Right now, we see a lot of struggles in the world, a lot of difficulties. Universally, people are going through all kinds of ups and downs, emotionally, physically, and I would say spiritually also. And my father, thank God, has so much experience that he's going to give us some guidance how to promote Emuna Global, which we know based on Rav Arush's teaching, Rav Shalom Arush, who unfortunately once again is still not able to make the studio time, but is guiding us and giving us the overall push to do these classes, being that this is his studio, and we have once again the honor to represent his awesome organization and causes. So we're going to give a little bit of a focus. We're going to remember today to dedicate to the legacy of Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein, Zatzal as well. He was a very big role model for me in the last 20 years or so, being in the Holy Land and going on this journey, someone who impacted the world. We spoke about it in the previous class, my personal class, and thank God we'll give over some feedback about that in a moment. We also welcome our guests, everyone tuning in online, to the Holy Land, to Eretz Israel, to Jerusalem. Blessings specifically to our special guest, Mr. Goldsmith, his family, which includes myself, so I'm very happy to be part of that blessing, and my mother, who both of them came here. Thank God, special. It's been 2.5 years. Whoever follows my class knows I've been asking you guys to pray, and those prayers worked. They made it here, no problem. Easy?
Easy this time.
Easy this time, yeah.
No problem.
We don't want to go into what happened in last year. Rav Elgrod just walked into the studio, very excited to see his happy face. He'll be joining us in a moment. We're dedicating this class to the full healing of Rav Shalom Arush. He should have the strength to join us in the studio soon. Tehila Rivka Bas Masha, Chana Bas Frida, and anyone else out there who's struggling with Corona. They're still saying there's some sort of remnant, I don't know, or new versions, but we pray that this Corona story should go away and we should all be healthy and functional, be able to travel and do everything we need to do. We're also dedicating this class to the Ilya Nishmas of Gedaliah's son, Yerachmel Daniel ben Gedaliah. He is a pure soul, and Gedaliah Fenster, thank God, did feature, we mentioned it last week, with the Rav in Ami magazine, and he's doing tours now. Should join him, excuse me, both in LA and New York. And we're dedicating also to wishing you all a good week. We want good promotions, this Kodesh of Iyar, healthy, energized spring to the summer days, Sefirah with Emuna. And remember, this is the focus of the class, to share Emuna, global, everyone. That is the energy we want. We want to make this as big as possible to help humanity reach a good, inspired state of mind. Okay, so Rav Elgrod sitting next to me. We'll just say a quick hello to the Rav who came special.
Shalom Aleichem, Martin. Nice to meet you.
Oh, all the way to meet you.
Very good. This is the English now.
Oh,
the English
We're taking
Parliament.
over.
We're taking over, yes.
That's it.
Finally, an English representation only. Excellent.
Well, we should really have another Scottish guy and a Welsh guy.
We talked about those guys in the
we
kids.
are here. We are here to celebrate the Queen's 70th
Very nice.
platinum anniversary of being on the throne.
Yes, that's a big deal. 70
Long
years.
live the Queen.
Oh, man. Okay, so we just praised the Queen. Amazing. And thank you, Rabbi. This is our feedback moment, and then we'll start the class. Hisbodedus, my only hope. Hisbodedus means personal prayer, just to translate. I hope Hashem, Melech, blessed be He, will change me and my life for good. Although, yes, I am in pain to pour out my heart, but it's a healing process, and it's 1,000,000% works. 1 hour in the middle of the night is the best. So that's someone who's living up to the teachings of the rabbi, A very big part of his program is learning to have a relationship with God. Just to make it clear, to talk it out. Emuna means to talk. Correct, Rabbi?
Yes.
Defining it correctly, hopefully. Okay, now we got some other feedback. Smile, 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 and hearts. Musical Emuna class. They love our classes, thank God. May Hashem continue to bless your organization. Jason wrote this. I love this. What a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. Kiddush Hashem means to make Hashem's name or great in the world, sanctify his name. Thank you for the translation. I told you how to translate me. It's life-saving truth. Shalom from Germany. See, it's a global class. We had Portugal, I think, just before. That's so true, Rabbi. In everything we do, we should call out to Hashem. He is indeed our only answer. Hashem should bless you and Rav Shalom Arush all and everything he's doing. And then just a little bit more feedback. It's great tool, this technology. And the Yid mind can be used effectively to spread Torah on the platforms. It's got to be done tactically. Love what you're doing. You're doing great. Well said. I'm trying for my place. God bless you, Eli.Goldsmith. That was on my class. Thank God. Shalom, dear Reb Lazer. Greetings from the Noahites. The Noahites are people that keep the 7 commandments. And there is a large growing movement of them in the world. And it's actually based from the Torah, such a concept. And I believe this is a friend. Javier is from a Spanish-speaking country, but he joins us in English. Thank you, dear Reb Lazer, for this wonderful share. Amen. I'm only beginning to learn the first steps of this man's holy life. We're talking about Rav Arush. This is Lahavda ben Chaim. We're talking about Rav Zechariah Wallerstein, who are dedicating this class. We mentioned at the beginning before the Rav Dayan Elgrod walked in. Everyone should be healthy and well, but unfortunately, Rav Zechariah Wallerstein, everyone else should be healthy. Rav Zechariah Wallerstein passed away at the young age of 64. Yeah, and we want to celebrate life, so we'll dedicate this class to his merit. And may he be for a continuous blessing, they wrote. Someone else wrote one more beautiful feedback. Wishing you a happy time with your parents. Looking forward to being able to hear your father's experience. There we go.
That's nice.
Very nice.
Someone already preceded this class.
Did you write that?
I did not.
No, you did.
It's another English bloke.
This is all generally coming through the emails or YouTube. YouTube is the main place where I get the feedback. Facebook here and there. Once in a while, there's some nice comments underneath as well. And once again, we ask you now as we're live, if you're watching, make a comment, give feedback. It gets the class more global. Give some love. And we appreciate everyone who's involved, the studio team, and everyone who joins us weekly. So let's go. Let's start the class. And specifically, we'll thank Rav Dayan Elgrod and start off with a question that he made it here in his busy schedule, and we don't take it for granted. So the question is, also, someone asked again about the Emuna Tour, but we've had that question many times. I'm sure you're going to be talking about this anyway, but how can I connect to Sefirah Omer during this time? That's the time we're in. Yes.
Well, we're going to speak about this more extensively, but the main key factor is take each day anew. In other words, learn to treat each day as one-time unit and cope with the day. Don't start thinking about what's going to be. Focus on what you've got to do today. We'll concentrate about these things in future showing, but that's one of the key things about Sefirah Omer. Learn to live in set moments of time.
Amazing. So we are here present, sitting next to the man himself, my father, who's had a lot of experience on online classes. Is that right? Or more rather selling channels?
Certainly TV, a lot of TV exposure, a lot of kind of TV shopping channels, believe it or not, which are incredibly, were incredibly successful. Obviously, the online world, or the world of shopping online, has kind of taken a lot of its sparkle away, but it's still there. And if you want to buy a bed, go online. You'll see one. There's hundreds of them.
I mean, I remember growing up and turning on the TV that we had, and on there was my father selling something on WWE or WWF, what it was called back then. And there was lots of products all the time.
There certainly was. In fact, my history really is quite simple. It's about one product, and that product is a T-shirt. And it's amazing how a simple product like a T-shirt has conquered the world time and time again. And if I go back, my company's been in business well over 40 years, and I go back to our early days where I had this vision of working with artists who were touring concert halls, doesn't matter what size they were, whether they were small halls or large halls, and how could we make extra income for those artists, so that, and also to help promote their artists by their fans getting more and more involved. So the answer was a simple thing, very simple. Put a logo or put a name on a t-shirt and see if the fans want to buy it. And although in the early days, a lot of it came out of the States in the psychedelic era, which was kind of late 60s, early 70s, where art became a very, very important part of the world of rock and roll, but mainly in California, in San Francisco, in the psychedelic days. In fact, some of that artwork is incredibly iconic, and if you've got the originals, very, very valuable. So we decided, we set up a company, and I approached an iconic British artist named Cliff Richard, who's still around, still performing. I think he's...
Don't we call him Sir Cliff Richard?
Oh, Sir Cliff, yeah. Sir Cliff. And I said to Sir Cliff, in those days he was Cliff, I said, why don't we, you're doing some concerts, why don't we produce some products with your picture on it, or a t-shirt with your face on it, or some logo? And he said to me, are you mad? He said, nobody's going to buy anything with my face or logo on it. So I said, well, it's my risk. I will pay you a percentage of all the money that we take, and let's see what happens. And of course, 40 years later, he's still going around, and the world of merchandising has become, and all his fans who turn up at a show have to buy something. They have to. It's not a matter of trying to sell it to them. So he was absolutely amazed, and of course his manager was also delighted, because we gave them added income to whatever they were earning from concerts. And then we decided to kind of expand into the world. My brother, who was the most famous tour promoter in Europe, or probably secondary to a guy called Bill Graham in America, was bringing in a few small bands. You might have heard of them, I'm not quite sure, but the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Led Zeppelin, Thin Lizzy, and Pink Floyd and Queen. Just small little bands, you know, that obviously turned into the world's greatest artists who are still performing today. And my job was to create merchandising ranges, whether it was a t-shirt or a badge or a cap or a program or a poster, to go at every show. And gradually the business got bigger and bigger and bigger. Every single fan had to buy something, which they did. Of course, you know, we had a few failures when the band didn't turn up, or the weather was bad and we were outdoors, or whether we overbid for the rights. So not everything was successful, but generally the business side of it grew, and that side of kind of memorabilia business has expanded into all levels of I would say, not only the entertainment world, but anything where there's a following. And we got involved with some weird and wonderful, crazy things. And I noticed the most interesting aspect of what Ellie has put up was a picture of me with the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan.
Holy brother.
And he, in those days, 1980, seems like another century ago, but anyway, 1980s, the world of wrestling was just starting to happen in America. And I knew, I'd been to Florida and I'd seen the kind of buzz when the World Wrestling Federation, as it was known then, was doing their live shows. And I contacted the owner, whose name was Vince McMahon, and I said to him, why, you know, I've noticed the interest in America about professional wrestling. I said, why didn't we bring you over to Europe? And he looked at me In fact, I went to Connecticut, sat down with him, and he looked at me, he said, "You, brother, you must be mad. You're crazy. We're only playing in kind of small venues. What the hell are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I still believe, there's going to be interest worldwide." He said, "One thing is happening." He said, "We're just talking now to Sky TV." I said, and Sky TV in those days was at its infancy. And I said, "Well, what are you talking to them about?" He said, "Well, they're very interested in bringing us on TV in America." I said, "Well, as soon as you've done the deal and you want to show, they're going to show World Wrestling Federation on Sky TV, which was gradually taking over from BBC and ITV, let me know, and we will like to promote you." He said, "You're mad, you're crazy." I said, "Okay, well, we'll find out." Anyway, a few months later, the deal was done. They got onto Sky TV. The market suddenly grew. There was, from nothing, there was kind of a few 100,000 people watching on their Sky boxes, because in those days it was just beginning. So we did a deal to bring World Wrestling Federation to London into a brand new arena, which nobody could get to, by the way, because it was there was no transport system to get it. It was on the London Docklands. Anyway, we put one advert in the daily newspaper, the Daily Mirror, and within about 1 hour, every single ticket had sold out. And it was just they couldn't believe it. My brother said, "I can't believe this is happening." I said, "Well, it's happened. We better be prepared for it." And then from then onwards, that event went ahead. It was a massive, massive success with no promotional cost at all, really, just a couple of ads. And the World Wrestling Federation was born as a brand in the UK, followed by into Europe. And that went on for about 10 or 11 years, finalizing in, I think it was 1987, World Wrestling Federation SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium. Everybody thought, it's impossible, it can't sell out. And guess what? 87,000 tickets were snapped up in a very, very short period of time. And then it was, in fact, I think it's 30 years anniversary coming up this year, if I've got my figures correct. And from then, the World Wrestling Federation went from strength to strength. And some of the characters that we work with, we even brought them to Israel. We did some dates in Israel with kind of quite a heavy lineup of superstars, including one guy named Randy Savage.
Yeah,
Randy Savage.
Yeah,
and
he was a Slim Jim guy.
Yeah, I remember as if it was yesterday, basically. I said to all the guys, we were in Tel Aviv, I said, who would like to go and visit the holy city of Jerusalem? I can arrange a tour bus and a guide, and they'll take you around the city, around the walls and all the old city and the new city, and you can see, all about the history that you've been reading about. And most of the guys decided they wanted to get involved. They got on the bus, and we drove out from Tel Aviv, and suddenly this guy says to me, and his name was Randy Savage, and he spoke like this. He said, "Hey, my mother's Jewish." I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Really? How come?" He says, "Yeah, my mother's Jewish." I said, "Well, that makes you Jewish." What? I won't repeat what he said. He said, "That's impossible." I said, "If your mother's Jewish, you are Jewish. Give me the phone," he says. Get hold of the phone. He gets onto the phone eventually to his mother, and he said, "Hey, I'm in the holy city. I'm in Israel. I'm just going to Jerusalem. They've just told me I'm Jewish." You can imagine there was a deathly silence on the other end of the phone. And suddenly, in the midst of all this, he had no idea whatsoever, and his mother he made his mother come out on the next aeroplane. So he was told about the history of his life, and as his life went on later on, I think he got quite involved with fundraising and doing things.
Vegas, I heard.
Yeah.
And he donated to Vegas.
Yeah, he donated quite a lot for some of the charities. Unfortunately, I think he got run over one day when he was...
too much Slim Jim.
Yeah, too much stuff, you know. And but that was the story of Randy Savage. And believe it or not, the legendary Hulk Hogan always used to call me, hey brother, you're my holy brother, you know, as if I was his brother. He was quite, although he had a checkered career, he was certainly quite spiritual, and he probably still is, you know, even though he's been through a few wives and a few this, that, and the other, you know, various scandals about him, but he's still a great man, and he's well into his 60s, but he's still active. So anyway, that's the story of the world of wrestling. I carried on in that world. We represented another company called TNA, and we followed up with another one called WOS, World of Sport, which was a British company, which is still around. And believe it or not, we even got involved with the very, very first European live experience of UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, which we brought to the Albert Hall amongst a huge amount of bad press, good press, and the Albert Hall had no idea that there was two guys in the ring in a cage beating each other up, and they weren't happy. Yeah. But that's the history of that.
Still got some traditional values.
Yeah. Amongst our other experiences, we have done a lot of work in raising money for charitable organizations, and my area of it was always being the world of merchandising. So we, going back, Live Aid. In fact, most people remember Live Aid, of course. And then after Live Aid, there was an event called Fashion Aid, which every single famous fashion design in the world gave it some artwork, which we could recreate on merchandising. I mean, from Armani to Dior to Catherine Hamnett to every world major artist, every gave their design free, and our job was to create some product, sell the product, retail mainly in those days, and at live events, and all the proceeds went into the Live Aid Trust, and it became a huge money earner for them. And probably the biggest event, which people might remember, was called Sport Aid. Now, Sport Aid was set up as a huge fundraiser for Africa in those days, and the proceeds actually went into the Live Aid Trust again. And the idea was the world was going to run, and it was a bit of a rocky start, but as soon as they got Bob Geldof involved and a few famous rock stars saying they were going to support it, the event took off. But the important thing about it, every single person who entered to run for the world would receive a T-shirt, and part of the entrance pack was the T-shirt which had a world on it, and I run the world. And we had the job of creating this product and returning, all the proceeds into the fund itself. And it started off very slowly, but suddenly it went crazy, and we had the job of creating 600,000 T-shirts, sending them out to every single participant, because that was part of the entrance. You pay your entrance money and you get a T-shirt. And as you can imagine, that was a hell of a job. But anyway, we made it work, and the charity raised a huge amount of money. And then following from that, there was a big event in Hyde Park with all the most famous rock musicians in the world were trying to save the planet. We haven't succeeded yet. This event was called Live 8. And every, whether it was Queen or, in fact, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd had a reunion on the stage in Hyde Park. And one of the most prominent Senate members of the US was behind it, and the idea was to save the planet, and that was called Live 8. Also, another huge fundraiser was the Prince's Trust, which still is around, headed up by Prince Charles. And every year he used to have a rock show, a rock festival, at Wembley or the Albert Hall or Hyde Park. Again, the music industry supported it. Everybody supported it. Every name that you ever heard of got behind it, just like in Live Aid's time. But these are probably they're probably kind of forgotten as time goes by, but all these things happen. Then we did a lot of events, Teenage Cancer Trust, which raises a lot of money for young kids who've got cancer. It's at the Albert Hall every year, and it's kind of headed up by Roger Daltrey from The Who. That's another massive fundraiser, all based on the world, all based around merchandising and ticket sales. So I know that Elliot has a huge library of publications from Rav Shalom Arush, and it's very important that anybody who's interested in his following and his words and his speaking should, lay out and buy the publications. I'm not sure whether we'll have a T-shirt with his face on it yet. Should we?
We have some merchandise.
There is some
T-shirt could be a good idea.
Judaica.
You never know. You never know.
We've got Judaica, and that have the brand, the products.
Yeah,
But,
and just a very quick précis. It won't take too long, about 10 hours if you've got time on this broadcast. After the world of rock and roll, we then got involved with a young, very small little man called Luciano Pavarotti, and the world's greatest tenor, who was an opera singer, but suddenly became a world superstar, filling up stadiums throughout the world. And we toured around the world with him for 25 years. And then his manager, Tibor Rudas, a guy originally from Hungary, decided I can do more with Luciano than just selling out small venues and big venues. Let's do stadium events for 50, 60,000 people. So you can imagine 50, 60,000 people all sitting in a huge stadium listening to an opera star. Unheard of, completely unheard of. And then he had the brainwave of taking three of the world's greatest tenors, Pavarotti, Carreras and Domingo, and putting them into huge 80, 90,000 stadiums around the world. And it was my honor to be able to work with them. They also did a lot of events for charity, particularly charity events that Pavarotti where he was creating his own foundation to bring up new singers and new stars. And again, it was the world of kind of a bit of merchandising around it and TV advertising that helped raise more and more funds. So on and on it goes.
So the question is, how do we, and this was like one of the questions actually written down, how do we promote Emuna to our community and globally online? How do we get these concepts of merchandise and brands into the world of Emuna, of Rav Arush? Because he obviously has a vision for his books, for his teachings. We've traveled together and seen how the impact he has on a large amount of people, and not just in the English-speaking world, but globally as well. And how would you see, with all your experience, obviously, and the charity side of it as well, that a lot of the music and the entertainment also backed the charity side of it, and something we've tried to do in this class is bring in the music elements and had guests who are singers and rappers and composers and creators and DJs and every kind of different performer. How do we combine that to get this more global, to get the Emuna concepts?
Probably
The big question.
I would say the world of T-shirts is not for this organisation, but it could be that if there was a licensing program set up where you could sell a brand, Emuna brand, which could go on, ashtrays or pottery or mugs or cups or, a bit of decor product which could be put on the wall at home, or even Hanukkah may be branded with that. It could work.
How about baseball caps?
Yes.
They did it. This organization did it in America. Thank you, Hashem.
We have one called I Love Ohev Kol Yehudi.
No, but your father is speaking about specifically the product of Arush and Emuna.
Well, there could be amongst the followers, amongst everybody around, a company which has a range of products already into stores, maybe household items that could be branded, and that would help to get the name around. Doesn't have to be just something which, it could be a vase, it could be something.
But it seems like the events is what really pushed the word out.
Events,
the excitement of an event.
Obviously, if you have a following, and you've got, you've had events in Madison Square Gardens, haven't you? And you've had it
for the Jewish world, but not for specifically Rav Arush.
No,
you never know.
I don't know whether if there's a range of product that could be created and put together and sold. Obviously, there's a risk. Someone's got to take the risk, and whether it's a company bought the license, which my way of thinking is probably the best way, who appears every time there's a large gathering. Of course, the online store is very important. That is
we have Breslev.com, which is a website.
Maybe Rav Arush could sing with Sir Cliff.
Sir Cliff, yes. Sir Cliff.
He does believe, no?
Yes, well, Sir Cliff is certainly a very spiritual person. He does believe. He obviously has his own followers of, Christian faith who follow him not because he's a singer, but because of his spiritual leading, So
what about Frank Sinatra? One time he told me there was a big rainstorm. Was that right, when he was singing the climax of a song and it just downpoured?
That was Pavarotti.
That was Pavarotti?
Yeah. Well, obviously one of his iconic events was in Hyde Park, and Pavarotti in Hyde Park. I think there was probably 85,000 people, including Princess Diana and the whole of the government. Every single person who was anybody in the country was there, and the only dampener, and the word dampener is something which I can still see. As soon as Pavarotti came out on stage, as he opened his mouth, so the skies opened, and it
started pouring down.
Absolutely poured down. It never stopped raining.
Did you have the umbrellas?
Well,
the Pavarotti umbrellas.
The trouble is, all the people put their umbrellas up, but the people behind started going mad because they couldn't see. So my brother had to get up on the stage and berate the audience, put your umbrellas down. But anyway, so then luckily we had a supply of plastic Macs, and all the VIPs in the front were sitting there getting absolutely soaked, but they were protected with plastic Macs. We can control everything, but you can't control the weather. That's it.
Especially in England.
Exactly. In England, it happens. But
okay, so we've really got...
So what was that show called? Pouring Pavarotti?
Yes.
That's not bad. PP.
Pouring Pavarotti.
Oh, yes. Good one. Pouring Pavarotti.
I do remember a story about Pavarotti where he had changed his date of his birthday from Yom Kippur. Is that correct? Did that happen?
Well, no, because his birthday, believe it or not, is 12th of October.
It's your birthday.
And guess whose birthday is the 12th of October?
Yes,
me.
Mr. Goldsmith.
He never sent me a birthday card. I used to send him a birthday card, but he never sent me a birthday card. I never forgave him for that. We both shared the same birthday.
Okay, so there's a question. We're just going to jump back to Rav Elgrod, just out of interest. Someone commented on the DHC. Yes, these classes are still going around. The bracha on dried fruit. Someone wants to make a blessing. What's the blessing on a fruit, Dad? You know?
Right.
Yes, with chemical flavoring. So is this true for all fruits bought today at supermarkets or only a select few?
Well, it depends what dried fruit. If we're talking here about, for example, prunes or dates or figs, etc., then the blessing would truly be very great. But when we're talking about papaya or kiwi, we're talking about the ones who have what's called the fluorescent, and Martin used this earlier, the psychedelic colors. Psychedelic colors, the bracha is shehakol. It's got nothing to do with fruits. Everything is sucked out of them, and whatever's put back in, it's got nothing to do. The fruit is killed completely. All the flavor is taken out. It's chemicals. Oil is put back in. It's absolutely dangerous. And the bracha is shehakol. That's not a fruit.
Well,
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
Wow. I don't like dry fruit.
they look a little bit like colourful.
That's what I said. The psychedelic fruits.
It's
Yes,
psychedelic.
you know, like the ones with the shining
Glows in the
green.
dark.
Yes. You put them at night, and you can see it.
Really?
Yes.
Really, how amazing.
So we only make a blessing on the specific reality, and it doesn't even make it to the fruit reality.
That fruit,
even though it was once.
That fruit was
Zeitel LeBrocha, or Zichron LeBrocha.
again. It was once. That's the past experience.
Amazing.
There's just one story just came to. We had the rights for the Olympic Games 2012 in London, and we had a lot of the rights for the merchandising. And Olympic merchandising is huge. It's absolutely, there's collectors around the world who will collect Olympic badges, for instance, going back for years and years and years, and a lot of them now become quite valuable. They actually trade. If you go on eBay, you see there's people trading in Olympic merchandise. And we were struggling a bit. It wasn't really, hadn't the 2012 merchandise, although the actual events were massive, the merchandising, particularly online, which was then in its infancy, hadn't really taken off. And we had guaranteed a huge amount of money for the rights for that, and we were getting a bit worried. Until suddenly, and the part of it was the Paralympics. And I said to the Olympic organisers and the committee we were working with, I said, what about the Paralympics? And they said, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything. It will happen, but it doesn't mean anything. How wrong they were. It's quite amazing how the Paralympics in London became massive, and they actually sold 3 million tickets for the 2012 Paralympics, which obviously that helped all the Paralympics themselves. These guys in wheelchairs and all that type of stuff who put their whole life into trying to keep fit, even though they had shocking things happen to them. And the Paralympic merchandising suddenly became the thing you had to buy, and all the fans, and can you imagine, the Olympic people could not believe that they sold 3 million tickets for Paralympic Games. So, and that brings us to today, or in fact last month, where we got involved with Prince Harry's main charity, which is called the Invictus Games, which again is the Invictus Games is for Paralympic, not Paralympic, but for paraplegic. That's the word. Thank you. Paraplegic athletes who basically are from the army or from the armed forces, and they have this annual event. It's been held back for 2 years because of the obvious reason, but 2 weeks ago it was held in The Hague. And again, that was another huge TV interest, and it was shown all around the world. And the important part of it was fundraising through merchandising. So that was another one.
So I think we get an idea now, to just sum up, that basically to get these products, like we have, thank God, we've sold out, which is good news, of the English one, yes, on Loving All People, the updated version. We still have the original version, and we have obviously the latest book of Garden of Emuna that we're always putting out there, and remind you to go to Breslev.com. We did post this week that you can get all 15 Garden of Emuna books, actually 14, correct me please, 14 English Garden of Emuna books, and they are available for a great price. You can buy the full set. Obviously the shipping, everything's at a better price because it's a bulk deal, and we will ship it out to you. We posted it already on our sites. And these are great opportunities. This is something I watched growing up. My father selling products online, and on, in those days it was TV, and something which I see the importance, because especially we know what's inside these books can change people's lives. It's literally saved marriages, people's well-being, their ability to have peace of mind so they can economically succeed. one of the things that the Rav has been pushing, as we just mentioned very much, is about the loving the fellow man. So we're going to go now have a little bit of a focus from Rav Dayan Elgrod again on this subject. And I know he's prepared pages.
But before that, I would like to ask, could I please ask you a follow-up question?
Ask. Yes, you do.
In my opinion, again, and I'm saying this as someone who is not part of the actual industry, but I think that the most important thing is promoting something that you believe in. Correct. Am I right about that?
Correct.
In other words, you have to believe in your product.
Yeah, that is true. Well, in the rock and roll business, or the music, that doesn't always mean that I believe in what they're playing and what they're saying, but as long as the fans believe in it, that's what the important thing. So the logo, for instance, on the front cover of this latest book, that's a great logo, which I could,
Yeah, I've got a lot of good feedback from that, the heart and everything. Yeah, yes. Definitely.
In other words, we've got the most important thing that what you're speaking about, merchandise, is creating belief in the product or connection.
Well, you can have a book, you can have this book in your bookshelf, and you might see this section as you walk by. But if you had that, let's say, in glass, or some kind of
NFT nowadays, or
NFT is another story. Yeah. Maybe on your wall at home, you'd see it every day as you walk past, and that will mean something to you. And perhaps a lapel badge, obviously, that type of thing. You might have it already. I don't know.
Okay, now here to another question.
Yeah.
How do you create a connection to the merchandise, to the logo? For example, let's take a musician.
Yeah.
Whatever music. Music is something very personal. Not everyone likes this or that kind of music. How do you make people like the merchandise even if they don't feel connected to the music?
Well, in the when I say olden days, I mean going back to the 70s, every single band, their logo was the most important thing. If you can imagine, you know, AC/DC, you know that if I say that to you, you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah, I'm the wrong example. Well, my parents
that brings us to the story from last week.
My parents only allowed me to listen to classical music when I was growing up.
Okay.
We told the Rav Shalom story where he had no clue.
Sorry.
Oh, that one, yes. Well, I mean, let's say, okay, the branding, like the Rolling Stones,
big
know
tongue.
what the tongue is.
Yeah.
You do know that, don't you?
The what?
The tongue.
The tongue.
Rolling Stones big tongue. Like people have it behind them on the walls and
Sorry, again, I'm the wrong person.
Okay. It's not Tchaikovsky's tongue, it's Mick Jagger's tongue. But anyway, let's
Tchaikovsky,
say...
I know.
Yeah. I don't think he was merchandised too much, but believe it or not, there is a revised...
Actually, Peter and the Wolf of Tchaikovsky, that was merchandised.
That was, exactly. Yes. But I mean, it's a matter of creating a recognizable, iconic image.
In other words, that when I see you from afar, when I see the image, I already know what that image means.
Correct. I mean, that image, to me, looking at that particular
is
image,
a powerful image.
Is a powerful image, and it could be. It's not my world because I don't sell generally to retailers who sell this, but I could see this as a glass product, you know, and maybe people who have no idea what it really means, what the meaning behind it, could be attracted to it.
The heart of Emuna.
Yeah.
Nice, not bad.
Yeah. What is it? It's wonders and gratitude.
Yes.
So it could mean something.
We do have a rabbi sitting here, and I want to just give him a few minutes to really give us just another push towards loving other people. Like I have my father here. I couldn't be happier to be able to honor him in the Holy Land. But thank God it's a struggle generally, the day in, day out grind of connecting with Bedam L'Chaver, with each other, honoring each other. We know that's a big part of this time period. So can you please guide us, Rabbi?
There's a beautiful phrase from the Chazon Ish. This is brought in the book Maaseh Ish in part 2 on page 166. Chazon Ish was asked, what should a person's goal be in this world? And he answered something incredible. He said, to be able to go through your 70 years without hurting a single soul.
Wow.
So that should be your highest aspiration. In other words, our highest aspiration should be to treat every single person the way we'd like to be treated. No one likes to be screamed at. No one likes to be reprimanded. No one likes to be scoffed or to be mocked. And the way we'd like people to treat us is the way we should treat other people.
Why does it be so hard, though? Now, come on. I've seen behind the scenes in the music business, everyone screaming at each other, all this pressure and hassle.
Well, pressure is one thing, obviously.
Yeah.
At a live event, timing is the most important thing, because there's nothing worse than having your audience there and they're standing there or sitting there and you're late.
But doesn't it build up like a...
Yeah, of course. Sometimes, correct. Sometimes it does exactly the opposite, and everyone gets more excited than angry.
But it's within reason, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, maybe, but we've all been at venues and places where the audience starts hand clapping, whether it's a classical concert or a sports event or whatever, For instance, when Novak Djokovic is playing against Rafa Nadal in a tennis match and Novak sits down for a few minutes longer than he should do, the audience will start slow hand clapping, because they're getting angry. They reckon that he's trying to pull one over. So how do you I think a bit of an audience excitement is a good thing in a way, and whether it's build up because you're getting them angry.
Well, the good news, every time we post our class, it's meant to be 8:30. Somehow the studio, last week it was 12:30. I don't know how. That created a lot of anticipation. Where's the class?
That's good.
I get on my phone, it's suddenly on the side. Is it getting posted at all?
That's good.
You got the link? What's going on?
Well, people...
Streaming events also have some sort of time.
You were speaking also about Benodem L'Chaver. In my opinion, the two main things that bother people, first of all, pride, being very egoistic. When you think only about yourself and you don't think about other people, for example, if I now scream at you, that means I'd be thinking about my point of view and not thinking about you as a person, which I think would probably happen a lot in the industry of music or the industry of art. It depends. You've got to stop being egoistic. And the second thing is, in my opinion, is you've got to have Emuna. In other words, we taught this to Eli. Okay, Eli is English. As an English boy, the concept of time is very important to him. And one of the things he learns here in yeshiva is that time is flexible, which means, and this is an Emuna lesson. Things don't happen the way you always want them to happen, and you've got to accept it. This is the way it's going to be. It's not going to help you getting angry. It's not going to help you screaming.
Well, working here and having the last 2 years with Corona and the event world has definitely been a big lesson in that.
Yeah, well,
everybody.
Let's face it, you live in a country where everybody's angry, especially on the road.
Oh, no, it's not that they're angry. It's just that the Israeli driver is born with his hand on the horn. He constantly honks.
Yeah,
it's like.
Yeah.
But let's ask you, what do you think?
Let's say. Well, lack of patience.
What do you, being an observer, someone who grew up in England, and you've seen my journey, and you've met, thank God now, another rabbi, a role model that I look up to and learn from, thank God. What do you think of our journey as like the Jewish people and the lessons of Emuna that we're trying to live, even though it could be struggle sometimes, but overall, you've seen the family and the whole process somewhat.
I've only seen from the inner circle of my own grandchildren, and I've noticed the difference between each child. Each child is different, but the one thing they all seem to have, obviously inherited from you, maybe with the exception of one person, is spirituality, and they all appreciate it, they all respect it. I'm sure when I was told by my father, you got to go to shul, you got to go to Edgeware Shul to see Rabbi Saul Amius, I probably said, yeah, okay, Dad, I'm going to go to shul, but I'll end up in the local park or something like that, But I don't see that from your children. And going to shul here yesterday in
Tolna,
the Tolna rabbi, the percentage of pre-bar mitzvah kids in there was quite interesting, actually. Incredible. And they were all very, very interesting, and they're all part of the service, which is obviously they're brought up in it. But I know that I'm a member of the United Synagogue, and it's a slightly different atmosphere. And of course, if you're a member of the Reform Synagogue, it's another atmosphere again. Although the Reform Synagogue does manage to bring in a lot more younger families, probably because a lot of the service is in English, which they can reflect on. But here, it's the spirituality that seems to have taken over from whatever else is going on outside. Once you're inside the shul, that seems to be the most important thing from all ages. And because I'm, as I said, a member of United, it's a bit difficult for me to understand a lot of the prayers, which I've been brought up for years, as I know them, but when I hear it here, it takes on a completely different meaning. And the interesting thing is the amount of interaction with God from the floor. I'm not talking about on the bimah, I'm talking about from the floor, from the congregation, is really inspiring in a way. And they do make their voices heard. I don't know whether it's a competition to see who can dove them the loudest or not. I'm not sure. Maybe there is.
No, I don't think so.
It's from a real place. Yeah.
Yes, it's from a real place.
Yeah. And it's very... It's interesting for me, and probably interesting for a lot of non-kind of secular Jews to see it, because they probably wouldn't get the opportunity,
But do you think this movement of, like, say, someone like myself, coming from the VIP music industry, entertainment world, being in the backstage, meeting all this, seeing this whole
Really?
world.
When was that?
I remember it very, very well. Meeting, Eric Clapton to Paul, McCartney to every single person. So it's Slash, the list goes on, Oasis, go on and on.
Well, you were lucky.
So, but then I'm still focusing in on the rabbis and the spirituality, the Emuna, even now, till now, which, not everyone can keep the long-term plan going. It takes a lot of, thank God, special people around to help, and a lot of Saturday Shema, heavenly help. So how do you think for the future of our people and the world, do you feel this still has a place that can help and even feature in the entertainment world and the music world and in the merchandise world? There can be a room, like NFT world, wherever the new technology, the virtual world, where it's all heading. Is there room for spirituality and soulfulness into all that?
There's always room for it. There's always room for it. It's just a matter of how do you to make people understand that there is another way out. It's not all getting angry with the world and going out in the streets and screaming and shouting. There's other ways of doing it.
To funnel it properly.
Sorry?
To funnel it properly.
Yes, correct. I suppose the Orthodox Jewish world is always going to be remote from the general population.
But it seems like the rabbis made a difference in making it much more universal.
Well, I'm sure if you could get, the people to listen on a general TV channel or I'm sure then you're going to start opening it up into, a whole new world. But of course, you're not alone. Like,
we'll end off with one story I know. My dad came to help us with Nissan Black and bring him to events in London. And also you were at the recent concert, Hanukkah. But who won the watch? Who won the raffle? That's the question everyone wants
that was
to
a
know.
fiddle. You knew that.
Let's see.
Well,
so all my friends laugh. They say the guy who least needs it wins the raffle, and he's still wearing it now.
Well, yes. Well, Nissan Black, obviously, he came to London, and part of the event was a kind of a charity auction, or was it a raffle or an auction? I can't remember now. And somehow or the other, and Elliot was involved with putting the whole thing together. Somehow or the other, I ended up with the first prize. I wonder how that happened. The watch. But what was interesting, about a month ago, Nissim came to London, and he performed for the Chabad community of Essex. And I had no idea that that community was so large in that part of the world. I didn't know, actually. And I was amazed when we went to a very nice venue in just outside Romford, which is a kind of smallish town, and the place was absolutely packed of all ages. And as soon as Nissim came out, it was like the Rolling Stones had arrived. The audience went mad. They went absolutely mad for him. And not only did he sing his song and he spoke to them a bit about his life, and there was certainly a lot more people than I expected to see. And I'm glad for them that it was successful, so I'm sure there are other artists who could probably do the same thing.
I think that's together. The students that we bring to the program. That's part of the idea that the
that
music
is part of the idea. Yes.
Yeah.
Could I end off by asking your
Please.
father a question?
Yes, please, Rav.
We were speaking about Benodam Lechavero, and I'm sure that you, as someone who's dealt with artists, the artists that
How
you
you treat
managed
other
to
people.
the artists that you managed to connect to them better were the ones who were more human, less egoistic. Could you tell us a story about that? About someone who you remember? A good story.
Good story. Well, generally, I just remember one. Generally, we would talk to the artist through their manager, because the manager is there to protect the artist, and he doesn't. Let's say if an artist is about to go on stage and he's upset by something somebody said to him, it's not going to reflect back on the artist. But I remember quite a funny story. Neil Diamond was playing at a very large arena in London, the Earls Court Arena, and I had the idea of, and a large amount, in fact, as soon as the name Neil Diamond was announced, my doorbell never stopped ringing. People driving me crazy to get tickets. I'm actually not in the business of selling tickets, but people I haven't seen for years and years and years all want to see Neil, because he hadn't appeared in London for many, many years. And they were knocking on my door, driving me crazy. Some of the people we got tickets for, someone said, get me yourself, don't drive me crazy. Anyway, so I had the idea of having in the whole part of the catering, a deli, which was going to sell salt beef sandwiches and latkes and all that kind of thing, which is something you would never, ever in a million years see at Earl's Court. It's not the kind of catering. You might get a hot dog or burger or something, but you would never see anyone. So I went to a friend of mine who had a very, very well-known salt beef bar in Golders Green.
Bloom?
Sorry?
Was it Bloom?
No, it wasn't Bloom. I've forgotten his name, actually. It will come to me in a minute. And I said to him, we'd like you to come to Earl's Court. Neil Diamond is there for a week, and we have a ready-made audience for you. He said, what are you talking about? I said, look, all you have to do is set up your salt beef bar inside Earl's Court. You've got to open up an hour and a half before the show and just start carving. Anyway, eventually I persuaded him it's a great idea. And of course, you can imagine it. As soon as the audience came in there, the ones it went off like crazy. In fact, they couldn't even cope with it. You can imagine the amount of salt beef that was been pastrami, by the way. Anyway, so he was there for a week, and all of a sudden I got this guy on the phone screaming, going absolutely mad. What the hell? I can't tell you what he wants to say because it's
not appropriate.
We're pulling the show. This is not right. I said, and you're shouting at me. I said, well, why are you shouting at me? Because it's your fault. I said, well, what's happened? Somebody sent pastrami round to Neil without my permission. I said, what? I said, so what happened was the caterer, the pastrami man, or salt beef man, decided to be a nice guy and send around a whole plate of salt beef to Neil Diamond in his dressing room. And his manager, who obviously is protecting his eye, because, as far as maybe we're trying to poison him, I don't know, And of course, it was very, very touch and go. But of course, Neil loved it. He thought it was the greatest thing.
He's a Jew as well, isn't he?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. And I was forgiven. But that's where some was. So a lot of the artists, I remember we had a concert event in a castle out in Kent. I think it was very old castle. They decided to put on an event in their gardens. And the artist there was Pavarotti. Pavarotti was going to sing in the grounds of this famous castle in Kent. And after the show, he did the show and it was great, and there was a dinner given for him, and he decided we were all sitting there waiting for him to come out to join us for the after show dinner, and all of a sudden he turns up with a serviette and thing, over his arm and 2 bottles of wine in his hand, and he became the wine waiter.
Oh. Very nice.
And I still have a picture of my mother, my late mother, sitting on Pavarotti's lap, you know, so things like that.
I make a joke when I'm back in London that they're up in heaven together.
Yeah.
Pavarotti and
But
my
of course,
grandma.
if you upset him, you owes hell to pay, you know.
Yes, he'll start screaming you with his tenor voice.
Well,
We thought the Moroccans had
he once said to me, I suddenly get a call from him, you have called me something or the other. So I said, what are you talking about? He said, come into my address room. So I go into his address room, and he says to me, look, he says, you have called me. Can I use the word? No.
No.
Better not.
Okay. He says, you have. I said, what do you mean? He said, look, and he's pointing at this picture in the souvenir program book, and you have called me, and his name is Luciano, I-A-N-O, and if you look up the word A-N-O in Italian, you'll know what I'm talking about. He says, you have called me A-N-O, which was written over his face, like above his forehead. I said, but that's your name. He says, yeah. He says, but you've called me A-N-O. I said,
because it happened to come out, the logo.
yeah, just the logo was...
Instead of thank you, Hashem, it was something else.
So he says to me, how many programmers do you sell? I said, 5,000. 5,000? Okay. He said, you can call me A-N-O. So that was another story.
Oh, that's a story. Okay, I think we have to end on that note. What do you say, Rabbi?
This was incredible. This was an amazing program.
Yeah.
I can go on for another year.
I had 2 rabbis. One rabbi in London said, you come from this? How are you such a tzaddik? Come from this kind of man? Like a real Yiddish rabbi. I'm not going to say his name. And then the Chabad rabbi says, I now understand anything good about you come from your father. I see you as such a man. Yeah, Rabbi Sudak. He said, I totally get it that anything you're doing good, it comes from your father.
This was a very, very special program. Very special program, very unique program. And it just teaches us how we've got to take all these tools that your father, Martin, was speaking about, and we've got to insert them into the product that we're trying to sell, because we are trying to sell a product. We're trying to sell Emuna for the world.
And it's not selling out, it's helping enabling everyone.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking about selling a product in order to make money. We're talking about selling a product in order to change the world, which is what we aspire to, but we've got to learn the different techniques and methods, and that could be wonderful.
In today's market, of course, the world internet sales
it's all online,
and we, from those days of rock and rollers and dealing with superstars and all that type of thing, the new world, which is the world of YouTubers, gamers.
That's what my brothers, your sons are busy with.
So we have changed focus of our industry from our business, mainly from the touring side, which one day you're in Australia, the next day you're in Birmingham, the next day you're in China, into the online world. And for instance, there's a young man, I think he's 28, 29, his name is, he's a gamer. He's a Minecraft guru, right? And he's like, well, if you're I'm sure you're a Minecraft player. If you're a Minecraft, if you're a Minecraft player, he knows Minecraft. No, he doesn't. Okay, if you're a Minecraft player, this guy's name his brand is Dan TDM, and he had, believe it or not, and I still find it amazing, this young man who's 27, 28, over the last 3 or 4 years had 5 billion, not million, billion hits on YouTube and all that kind of, and around it is this whole story of branding and merchandising that kids who follow Minecraft want to buy something with his face on it. And the other thing is there's a new one now, which is huge. It's called Spy Ninjas. Now, Spy Ninjas is another a game which is for the younger generation. They got millions and millions of followers, and the kids are playing the game, and they're driving their parents mad to buy them something.
So that's a good idea. Let's make an Emuna computer game.
Yeah. I think so. Gaming is huge.
Gaming is
How do you get points? More Emuna.
More Emuna.
There probably is
Share it.
spiritual games out there. There must be. I don't personally know.
I haven't actually seen anything. Maybe it's a new product.
There probably is.
Maybe it's a new product. Save your soul.
Gaming. I do think we do have to think now, take the concepts of what you did then. I mean, your sons are doing it, my brothers, and they're bringing it online, and they're doing it together with these YouTubers and gamers and NFTs and all the new stuff going on. So we're going to have to figure out how to take the same concepts of branding and promoting and bring it to the internet online. I mean, this is our 70th class. It's an achievement that we're able to sit here with our crowd, have to worry about the ticket sales or anything, and we just get the message out there through the internet.
Yes, and I'd just like to point out just to all our viewers, we're expecting 5 billion hits.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, 5 billion. Well, stop thinking small.
One other word to add is the word influencer.
Yeah.
So an influencer is a person who is basically he's telling a story, whether what the story is irrelevant, but he's telling a story, but really what he is selling behind that story is a product. And you're an influencer, and if you've got an insert of a kippah that suddenly becomes the kippah that everybody wants to wear, he's done his job. You know, that is the job.
Amazing.
Of the world of influencers.
So let's do it, guys. Everyone can reach out, join our Emuna global classes. We thank again Rav Dayan Elgrod so patiently listening to my father and joining us and also sharing some of his Emuna insights, giving us that focus in the name of the Rav Shalom Arush. He should be well. We're looking forward to our 71st class. I can't believe it's a big achievement.
Yeah, it is.
It's been a 2-year process during this whole Corona story. Started around 2 years ago already. And once again, we dedicate to Rav Wallerstein. He should be a made it Tzioch for us. He accomplished tremendous things, and we can also take a note from his book, how to do it even in the in-person world as well, not to lose that focus, that we need to meet people and experience that in-person success and connection. We wish you all a wonderful rest of the week, a good Shabbos. Join us for our 71st Emuna class next Sunday. Keep sharing this one, make it as big as possible so we can hear and educate the new generation of influencers and YouTubers and all these people out there to get the message of Emuna to the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.